Hi, I'm Nola, and today is Saturday, March the 8th. I'm here today, and I was not expecting to be here today because of a dream that I had that awakened me at 3 a.m. this morning, and I've been up ever since trying to make this video for you out there. And so let me tell you what I experienced. Full disclosure here, I currently live or reside in the Netherlands, and I have done so for approximately 9 months. So I had a dream that I was in Amsterdam, and suddenly I was in this tall building, very tall, building, not one that I've ever been into before. And I happened to look out of the window, and there were these big black clouds rolling towards Amsterdam. And I asked if there was a bomb or an explosion of some kind, but I was told no. That's what I heard. No. And there was no dust, so I knew that it wasn't an explosion. Just intuitively, I knew that it wasn't an explosion, and I wondered what this could be. And suddenly, I found myself in the streets. And then I saw that there were people scrambling for resources to get themselves to safety, and they were taking things to try to secure their lives. So I got up and I went downstairs, made myself a cup of tea, and I had a conversation with my guide and my spiritual counsel. So I have made a lot of notes because this is just far too much for me to remember everything. So I will be on a paper shuffle today. So do forgive me for that. And also keep in mind that these messages are for entertainment purposes only. So please take what you need and discard the rest. Thank you. So without further ado, I do not claim to know exactly how or when these events will unfold, but I must tell you this, that I had to share them so that we can perhaps reflect on this together and prepare together. Some may be literal events, and others may just be metaphorically, have metaphorical meanings. But it is clear that Europe is on the brink of enormous change, or great change. So the dark clouds over Amsterdam, what could that mean? Could it mean changes in weather, a major storm? And then I was also aware that we were in darkness for about 3 or 4 days, literally in darkness. So will there be an electrical outage or power outage of some kind? Will there be something technological? Could there be an attack? I don't know. And that's why I was consulting with my guides, and now I'm here to ask for your input on this. So let's explore this a little more. It's clear that the tides of change are shifting in Europe, and we all know what is going on in the world. We are in a time or a season of great turmoil, right? So could this mean, jumble the papers up, I'm so sorry, but in any case, could this mean an economical hardship? Could it mean a literal attack? What does this mean? Okay. I was shown, and my question was, what does this mean? And I was shown the undercurrent of dissatisfaction in Europe, within the European Union. So are we in for a major environmental or atmospheric shift? These are all of the things, because people were literally scrambling. So were they trying to prepare for what was coming? And then I was taken to the Ukraine, and I've never been to the Ukraine before. I've been very fortunate to have traveled to a lot of wonderful countries, but the Ukraine was not one of the countries that I've visited. So I know as much about the Ukraine that many of you and I may have learned from the news events. So I was shown the Ukraine, and the message came through that Ukraine will be forced to give up about 60 or 70% of its land in exchange for peace. And this included a mountainous region with the river running through it. And I asked the name of the river, and then I did a little research. I think in English we would say Dnieper was the name of the river. And when I asked why would Ukraine have to give up so much of her land, I was then told that many countries that have offered to help will fail to follow through. So it will leave the Ukraine in an even more vulnerable position. And in the end, only Russia will gain from this. So for those of us who know a little bit about world history, what does this mean for the rest of us in Europe and in the Americas and around the globe? So a military reality, I was told, was the prolonged conflicts will leave the Ukraine with fewer military resources to defend herself. And therefore, this will embolden Russia. And Russia will try to take over. It does not mean that this is going to happen. But this is the thinking of the Russian Empire, that they can then march right in. And I don't mean physically, economically. I'm not saying that this is going to be a war, but they can economically and politically undermine Moldova. Gotta go to my notes. To Moldova, to Germany, and even France. So again, I will say this does not mean that they will succeed, but what is the rest of Europe willing to do about it is what my guides told me. And my main guide is a guy named Solace. So, these events could change depending on what the governments choose to do and what we, the people, tend to choose to do. So it leaves the Ukraine in a very vulnerable position. Without beating about the bush any further, I'm going to tell you that there is also, I was then taken and shown that in Europe there is growing discontent, and many countries within the EU are questioning their sovereignty. I was then shown an undercurrent of dissatisfaction within the European Union. There are countries, particularly farmers and working class citizens, who feel increasingly constrained by the rules imposed upon them. And their frustration is growing, not overnight, but steadily. And what does this mean, again, was what I asked. And I was told the farmer struggles, the agricultural policies has been making farming less viable and leading to protests or changes in the food supply. And I must tell you that last spring and summer, right after I arrived here, I saw here within the Netherlands farmers protesting. They'd driven their heavy earth-moving equipment onto major thoroughfares and headed towards Amsterdam. I'd never seen anything like it. And I am too new to know a lot about how the European Union is basically ruled, but I don't know the intricacies. It's very complex and complicated, and I've had several people try to explain. I've tried to read up as much as I could, but I haven't had a lot of time because I've been trying so desperately to get myself acclimated and settled in and dealing with the bureaucracy and paperwork and everything that it takes to live in a foreign country legally. So I saw that discontent with the farmers because apparently they are told what and how much they can grow and produce, and then what prices they could ask for. And this is not just the farmers, this is also the manufacturing companies and so on. So people are wanting to advocate for less centralized control and have greater independence. This is not to say that the EU will collapse, but there is a sense that the people are pushing back against certain controls and longing for more autonomy. And then I was taken to another place and I asked, why am I here? And I was in Turkey. And of course I visited Turkey. It's very beautiful and so on. But I was asked, why am I here? And the response was, Turkey will experience a massive earthquake. Now we know that Turkey has been through several earthquakes, and they are bordered by Greece. And for anyone that knows, within the last few months, Greece has also suffered at least 1,000 earthquakes, I believe. And please correct me if I'm wrong. And that Turkey was going to have another earthquake. And this may not be an isolated event. Some of the events were isolated, and other regions of Europe will also see an increased seismic activity and volcanic eruptions. And we know last year there was so much volcanic eruptions in other parts of Europe, and sorry about this, and that we know that the earth is shifting and that we need to remain aware and prepared for the changes in the natural world as well. And then I wanted to say that I was then taken to the United Kingdom, and of course I've been there too, and so I know a little bit about the workings of the UK, but I was told specifically that the United Kingdom is in a particularly precarious position because they offered great help to the Ukraine and the leadership in the Ukraine. And there are challenges ahead for the United Kingdom because they have either received monetary or some kind of energy gains from Russia. So they are walking a fine line. And because of this, there will be some truths that will be uncovered. And perhaps the current leadership in the UK may have to step down and will no longer be serving. However, when I asked for more details, I was told that it was pretty unclear, but the people, the powers that be, know this, and in the days to come, much will be revealed, and much will be revealed on an international level. So Europe will face a period of economic strain, a period of recession or financial instability. And what about the geopolitical tension? Everyone is connected to everyone. And I was told in this plain English that there has been so much manipulation by our governments across the world. And a lot of that will be made known to the common people in the street like you and I. And this is going to send us into the streets in revolt, not violently, but pushing back. So this is not about fear, because visions like this are not about fear. They're about awareness. By recognizing these patterns, we can adapt and navigate the changes ahead with wisdom and insight. So my closing message is that when people such as myself, and we all have psychic abilities and intuition, I'm nothing and nobody special. In the big scheme of things, there are so many wonderful psychics out there, and intuitives and remote viewers. I am just but a little grain of sand in this big scheme of things, but I really felt the need to come and share with you what I experience and what my guides have been pressing me to share with you. So the message is clear. We are in a time of major change, and with change, as you know, always comes challenges, major challenges, and also major opportunities. But the most important thing is how we choose to respond. Are we going to stand united? Are we going to lean on each other on one side and prop each other up on the other? Are we going to be kind? Because kindness is very important. Everyone is going through something that you and I may not know about. And so what can we do? We can stay informed. We can prepare where necessary and remain adaptable. And how should we view this, you may be asking, because this is what I'm asking. My guides told me very clearly, Solace said, nothing to fear. It's not something to fear, but as a sign to be conscious of our world and the shifting dynamics. I, Nola, would love to hear your thoughts. Do you feel that we are heading toward a major shift here in Europe and also around the world? And have you noticed signs in your own life? Have you had dreams, visions, symbolisms that you've experienced? Let's you and I have this discussion openly, please. And once again, if you found this video helpful, would you consider sharing, subscribing, and giving it a thumbs up so that the algorithm can pick this up and it can be shared with more people like you? Once again, these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Until the next time, do take care of yourself. Bye for now.